Are you searching for a deeper understanding of yourself and your place in the world? Do you yearn for more balance, more peace, and purpose in your life? Well, look no further than the Intuitive Revolution podcast, your trusted source for holistic insights and intuitive guidance. I'm your host, Alicia Faricelli, and I am ready to take you on a journey to inner peace and balanced well-being. Thank you, Dr. Lori, for joining us today on the Intuitive Revolution podcast. I'm super excited to delve into your journey, all the things that you have overcome. Sounds like we got some really cool information, really cool stuff coming. I'm so excited to get this out.
Great. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
So Dr. Lori, you have a fascinating journey from being a chemical engineer to becoming a speaker, coach, and author. Can you share what initially inspired you to make such a significant shift in your career and life?
Sure. What actually inspired to me was a bit of a negative event. I was actually fired from a job in a rather horrible fashion. I'll tell you more about that. Yeah, I was actually fired from a job after driving 4 hours to attend a 2-day meeting for the job. I got to the hotel. I went to check in. My room had been canceled. And then they fired me and told me to go home at 4:30 in the afternoon after I just drove 4 hours. And it was crazy. I was like, who does this? Why didn't you just fire me this morning? It's like, I wasn't even that upset about being fired because I was ready to leave. It was just the way they did it was so disrespectful. It was almost like a public firing because I went to the hotel. I was supposed to go to this meeting. People saw me there and then I wasn't there. And on that 4-hour drive home, I just, the first couple hours I spent, anger, fear, just all kinds of emotions, just, and then about halfway there, I realized that I don't have to go to work tomorrow. And it was like, I don't have to go to work tomorrow. And I spent the next, 2 hours thinking like, all right, well, do I want to get another job? It's like, I don't think I want to get another job because if I get another job, someone else is in control of my life, someone else in control of my career. And I don't, because I love the job I had and it was great until my boss retired and I got a new boss. So I'd been there for 10 years where it was great and then 1 year where it was awful. And it's like, do I want to take that risk of having to change again because of something outside of my control? So I decided I would start my own business and do something else. And I wasn't sure what at the time. I knew I always wanted to write a book. So I said, well, I have some time now, I'll write a book. And I didn't know what I was going to write about, but I just thought about, people that inspired me, things, and I started writing a book. And after writing the book, I said, I like the stuff I put in this book. Other people can use it. So I started learning about coaching and got some coaching certifications and just completely changed my life.
Yeah, that's a completely different avenue, definitely. And it's really cool that you had those 4 hours after you kind of process through the emotions of what had happened. And then you're like, you know what? This is such a blessing in disguise that I don't have to go to work tomorrow. I don't have to deal with the stress of this. And I can actually change and, as you say, reinvent your entire life. Even at the age of, you were 60 when that happened?
I was a month before my 60th birthday when that happened. Yes. So yeah. It really like that. I'm thankful, I was horrified that they could have done it so much easier and nicer. We could have nice transition. I could have trained the new person. If they told me they didn't want me there, I would have been, okay, let's make it work. So I don't know why they did what they did, but yet it started me on a new path because when I talk about that story and it's funny and people love it and it's horrifying and I feel like it was a blessing in disguise they gave me. I'm really glad they did it that way because I had that time to process it. If, had I been at home, I might have started looking for jobs right away and I might have gotten another one. So this gave me 4 hours to do nothing but think.
Yeah. It's amazing how situations happen and we have it in our mind, like how we would want it to go through. But that's not always the best in our best interest of, like you said, you've been home filling your jobs. Probably. I mean, I know I would have been freaking out after I lost 2 jobs. I got fired twice in a row. This has been years ago. And I'd never been fired before. And I was literally freaking out at the time. And like, what am I going to do? Frantic. So you had those 4 hours to process that. And it's just really cool how situations play out to our benefit and we don't even see it at the time.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So your book, The Reinvention Mindset, sounds so incredibly inspiring. Can you explain what the reinvention mindset entails and how it does it transfer someone's approach to life and setbacks?
Yeah, the reinvention mindset, which, I guess it's my term. It's something I coined. I haven't copyrighted it yet, although maybe I will. But it's a growth mindset. So it's really where our mindset can change. But it's more than that, because whereas a growth mindset says your mind can grow as you face different situations, the reinvention mindset is where you embrace change. You see change as an opportunity. So not do you just react to it, but you actually look for it. And it's a combination of a positive mindset, something where you embrace change, and it's really empowering, where it's about choice. So in the reinvention mindset, you get to choose what you're going to do, how you're going to act, how you're going to think. And even if you don't change anything about your life, you made that conscious choice to do that. And that's what I think is really important, that you're not just doing what happened, but you're actually looking at it, exploring it, looking at all your options, looking at all the opportunities, and then deciding what you want to do or where you want to go.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a very clear description of, because we get pushed into things, like you got pushed into being like finding a new career path. But if we're looking for those opportunities instead of having the fear embrace of, oh, change is so bad, because change is inevitable. We can't, there's not, I
Right.
mean, it's going to happen. But if we're looking for those changes and how we can almost not control the situation, but have a controlled mindset around it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. In the book, I interviewed a lot of people who were forced into change, and some of them were horrible. I interviewed someone who was diagnosed with MS when she was in her 30s, and she, decided not to accept that. I interviewed another woman who lost a child to childhood cancer, and they all turned it around and did amazing things. And when all the people I interviewed had a lot of things in common, how they thought, how they behaved, what they told me was valuable for them. So
Yeah.
that's how I put the process, the reinvention mindset together. And what I want people to know is that with the book is that, I waited till something bad happened and then I reinvented myself. Yet you don't have to wait until something bad happens to reinvent yourself. You can decide at any time, let me look at where I am today. And is that where I want to be? And if not, how do I change it? Or what is the choice I make? And I think that's important, that we don't have to wait till something bad happens to force us to make a change. We can look at our life at any time before the bad thing happens.
Right. And it doesn't have to be like a super sudden change. It could be just these little baby steps to get you to that
Mhm.
end goal, which
Yes.
is much easier on your nervous system.
Yeah, yeah, it could be something simple. It's just, changing what you do, changing your morning routine, or changing the language
Yeah.
you use when you talk to yourself.
Yeah. 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 So you mentioned before being fired in such a horrendous fashion. So how did this experience influence your personal professional reinvention? And then kind of what are some more key lessons you learned from it?
Yeah, I guess what it definitely it showed me the resilience and the grit that I have. So it helped with my confidence, where now I feel like, I can face anything, and I'm confident things will go well. I'm going to do okay. I feel like I have that knowledge, and that just that trust that whatever happened happens, and it'll be okay. So that was one thing. The other thing is it took me into self-reflection and really looking at what I'm doing, what I want to do, what success means, and why I'm doing it. Because knowing your whys, and your deep whys, really looking down to not just what you feel like on the surface is a why, like I want to help people. That's great. Why do I want to help people? And how, what is motivating me, and what other whys do I have? So it forced me into self-reflection that I didn't really do. And then the other, something as an engineer, I was very analytical, very based on facts. And in learning the coaching programs I took, and doing this whole new business, I don't deal in science and fact, and I've really opened my mind to things that I meditate every day, and I believe things that I never believed before. And I really do believe that we have so much power to make things happen, which scientifically, as an engineer, I probably would have said, oh, all this foo-foo thing is crazy.
Yeah.
When I think about it, I wish I had the knowledge I have now and the beliefs I have now when I was working as an engineer, because I think it could have added so much to my career.
Yeah, that's such a good point. As we take, it's people believe it has to be science or it has to be woo-woo based, but it's
Mhm.
so much science behind the woo-woo that people just
Right.
don't connect that together. And yeah, and see that
No,
it's
they
really,
don't see it. And
we're,
it really does change. It
yeah,
changes how people see you. It changes how you behave. It changes how you think. And you can combine the two. I mean, there's science and, like they've actually even done experiments where a scientist could, when he watches and expects a certain result from an experiment, the scientist has actually gotten different results than when another scientist does it. So it is kind of crazy how there is science and there's proof behind a lot of this. So
yeah, it's quantum physics. It's
Mhm.
what goes out comes back. I mean, yeah, so many rules and like laws of that. So as someone with such a strong background in science and engineering, as we just talked about, how do you integrate your technical skills with a more holistic spiritual and mental aspect of your new career path?
Yeah, it's actually an interesting question because I just did a master class this morning, and one of the people on the class is a chemical engineer as well that I actually knew through chemical engineering, and we were talking about root cause analysis and how we have to really go, if something's holding us back, we can't just look at it on the surface, but we have to keep asking the questions, the why,
Yeah.
and then the why and the why, and ask those empowering questions to get back to the root cause. And it's interesting because he said, oh, it's just like when we have an incident at the plant and we have to figure out the root cause. And it really is the same process, just like in science, when something happens, you look at those, you ask the questions, you look at, the different options. We do the same thing with ourselves and with our brain and with our inside. So they really are related. It's a lot of the things that we do in science and engineering are the same processes that we do on a plant or on a process. If we do them on ourselves, they work as well.
Yeah. I mean, we are science too.
Yeah, our brain really is an amazing supercomputer that has,
Yeah.
when you put stuff into a computer, it's only got so much processing power. So it
Yeah.
doesn't always give you, all the details. It gives you its conclusions, just like our brain. We put all this information in and we don't get, what we get out has to do with what's going on inside. And so there are a lot of parallels.
So having such I'm going to say left brain, like very logical, focused career, taking and having to come more into your right brain, that has to take like bringing out some creativity, bringing out those, it's almost a skill you have to learn. I feel like if you're so stuck, like focused on just logical left brain thinking. Yeah. What are your thoughts and things you've done
Yeah,
to
I
how to
think
get to
there
that point?
definitely is a skill. For me personally, I think I had a lot of the left brain thinking when I was younger. Because I remember when I was high school, I was deciding, what do I want to be in college? And it was like, do I want to be a chemical engineer or do I want to go to art school? So I had some of that and I suppressed it for years. Yet you can train your brain to focus, and it's interesting because there's actually exercises that when you train your brain like on little focus things, like where you things like, while you're eating, you take for 2 minutes, you like really focus on the food, and you smell the food, and you chew as you chew it, listen to the sounds and feel the textures and all. Those all train things like that help train the left brain because so many of us are so right brain oriented today that we just ignore that other side. But you can actually, by doing just really small things where you focus for 1 to 2 minutes at a time, just focusing on the senses, focusing on what's around you, focusing on listening, it helps train our brain to access that left side of it.
Yeah, that's great. That's incredible. That's such a good technique for anyone that can really use. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thanks for sharing that. So in your work, you emphasize the importance of seeing every setback as an opportunity. Can you share an example of a major setback you faced outside of your horrendous firing and how it
Sure.
did, how adopting the reinvention mindset really helped you to overcome it?
Yeah. I mean, this one's kind of related to the firing, but it's different. You know, when I got fired, I suddenly didn't have a salary. And suddenly I went from making a very good salary to making almost nothing. And I had to figure out what to do. And I knew I could start the business and I'm confident that I would get the money back, but I knew it wasn't going to be instantaneously. So I had to, cut expenses, stop everything,
Yeah.
just really change what I spent and change it so that I could get by. And I realized that, at first it was hard, but then I realized like, well, this is giving me a perspective that I didn't have before, and that I'm going to be working with clients who probably may have never had a really good salary, and they're going to have to, and it's giving me an understanding because I had been an engineer, so I had a good salary since when I started. I
Right.
never really had to live in, where, I mean, I wasn't wealthy, but I never had to live where I had to worry about, groceries or can I afford to eat or that type of
Yeah.
thing. And for a couple months I had to live that way. And I just felt like, instead of being upset that I had to live that way and worried about the money coming in, I thought it is a great learning experience where I could learn what it is like to want and to need and to feel like you have to, you're not sure how you're going to make ends meet and how you spend your money and watching every penny. And it was an experience that I think gave me a perspective that's really valuable now because I can relate to people who have that as a lifetime, and I can relate that even during that horrible period, the belief was always there that, they always say, you should talk from your scars, not your wounds.
Yeah.
Yet I can actually say that even when I was in the wounds, I still believe that it would be, would heal over and I would get better. And it's something that I can now share with people and help them realize that the bad times are temporary, and you can, even though they're maybe awful, there's light at the end and you can still keep going and you can learn from those bad times.
Yeah, I think a lot of the patterns people get into, and it's very interesting you said that, was the mindset you change. It's like, so when you have something, putting the energy, is putting out mentally like scarcity. Nice. You really didn't have a true scarcity mindset because you saw, oh, this is a great learning opportunity. I'm just gonna have to change a few things, but it's the end is not near. I'm not gonna like fall over, be homeless, like all this stuff. Like you knew you had a true faith that things were gonna keep
And that
coming in.
things,
Maybe not to the point to where you wanted it to be. But that's also part of your learning opportunity.
yeah, it is. I mean, it's the way you think of things. Like I even look, okay, the worst case, if my business fails and I have no money, okay, so I sell my house. Okay, well, if I sell my house, I could probably scrape up enough to buy an RV and live in an RV.
Yeah.
So if we live in an RV, there's opportunities to travel that we didn't have before. Like, when I was trying to save money on groceries, I became very creative and had things I could
Yeah.
cook that didn't cost. And I actually created some new recipes that I would have never thought about before, using things I already had or using ingredients. So you can actually find the silver lining, in anything if you look for it, because there's always something you could learn, always a way to see things in a positive light, no matter how horrible they were. I mean, and I see it, people who were, had an experience where they were homeless and then came out and did so much more because
Yeah.
instead of letting that experience get them down, they went through it, they lived it, and they learned from it, and they took those experiences to help grow.
And when you look back on those times, like it's tough going through those things, but you almost would not change anything because it makes you who you are and it gives you the like you said, courage and your confidence. And I mean, you're in a whole new path. Like you're probably glowing on the inside now, doing what you were, led to be doing.
Yeah, I think we really, our struggles are important because I think everything, our struggles and our successes are all important because they all
Mhm.
make us who we are and take us to the point we're at. And, when people say if you have regrets, it's like, I can't really have any regrets because anything I changed would have put me in a different
Yeah.
place. There are things I probably wish I had done differently, maybe, but I don't regret it because that was at the time, that was the best I could have done. And that was what was the right decision for me. So I did that and it got me to where I am. And I think we all need to, if we just accept where we are and that we're all exactly where we're meant to be, And that doesn't mean you're going to stay there if you're not in a place you like to be. But right now, that's the place you're meant to be. What can you learn from it to help you get to the place you want to go? And I think that's a really important lesson. Instead of fighting where you are, accept it and learn from it. And that makes it so much easier to get out of it.
I think that's what, to me, the definition of like great, giving yourself grace is accepting, hey, I might have put myself in this situation or may not have, but I'm going to give myself grace to go through this and not realize that there's something I'm learning from this. And there is a silver lining, at the end of the tunnel, the rainbow is coming. And then I'm going to be so much stronger on the end of it, even though we want to beat ourselves up with all the decisions we made in our past. Having a different perception of it is really the key of giving yourself grace through it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the concept of connecting being life-changing is powerful. Or sorry, the concept of connections being life-changing is powerful. How do you encourage individuals to cultivate meaningful connections and then see the potential in every single interaction? I know we talked a little bit about this, but kind of go into a little more detail.
Yeah. One of the things when I was doing the interviews for my book, every single person I interviewed said they could not have done it alone. They all had faith, whether it was in God or a higher power or source, some kind of faith for a power above themselves. And they all needed help from people around them. And that asking for help was so rewarding and enriching. And I think often we feel like we have to do it by ourselves, and we don't realize that help is out there and that people want to help us.
Oh, yeah.
So many people try to help, it makes us feel good when we help other people. So all those other people want to feel good, and they feel good by helping us, but sometimes we're so afraid to ask for help because we feel like it means we failed, or we're embarrassed, or we think we're going to ask for something stupid, or that someone won't want to give us the time. And it's just not that way. So many people do want to help you. And there's so many resources out there that making those connections. And I heard an interview with Gloria Estefan one time, that she was talking about how when she first started out, she was very talented and she was very musical, but she wasn't connecting with the audience. And she was performing with another man who, wasn't nearly as musically talented, but he just had this amazing connection with the audience. And she asked him, like, how do you connect with them? And he said, every time I go out on stage, I just feel like, this might be my last time going on stage. So I want to make all the connections I can. I want to just really be 100% and reach out to the audience. And she said that, a couple of weeks after their conversation, this man actually got in an accident and died. But she learned from that she, how to connect, and that every connection you make is so important, because you never know when that's the one connection that could change your life, whether it's just something someone said or something someone did, or who knows, you need a kidney someday and that person you met is a match, and is you never know.
Yeah.
So every connection that you don't make is like a missed opportunity, because everybody has value, everybody is unique, and the more people, we're all connected in this world. I mean, we're all connected anyway. And so just making those connections can really be, you never know how it's going to be life-changing. So any connection is a good connection. Anyone you meet, you're meant to meet, and there's a reason for that. So I believe that, everyone has value, everyone has something to offer. And the more people the more joy there is in your life, the happier you'll be.
That's so funny you mentioned the kidney thing, because I actually have a friend the exact thing happened to.
Really?
I was like, whoa, that is like, yeah. They were, I won't share the complete story, but yeah, they were, he's been looking for a kidney for years and years and years. And it was through a connection through a networking group that his wife had joined. And then somebody was so kind and just said, hey, I'm willing to donate my kidney. And so now it literally, he was extended his life, like it saved his life. So you never know the little connections that you make. I mean, we are all beings of connection. We're all like helping. That's what we're wired to do, is to love and to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're blocking that off, I mean, it goes back to me, it's like the same receiving. When you're blocking off anything, coming into your life, why would you continue to get more if you can't accept, the small little help? So how would you go about asking someone who's like, I don't know how to ask for help? What kind of tips do you have for that person?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the first thing, the easiest way to ask for help is to offer help. I mean, if you know someone, ask them, can I help you? And the more people you offer help to, it'll just come back. And then at that point, just ask, just put it out there. Say, hey, I'm struggling with this. I'd like to get your opinion, because you'd be amazed at how many people, would help you if you ask. I mean, and sometimes even people like that, you think they're famous people or people that are so far out there. When you ask for help, they're like, sure, I'll help you. So, be willing to offer help. And that's the first tip. Be willing to, if you're at a networking event or somewhere, you always want to offer, see what you can
Right.
offer for them. And it will come back to you. But sometimes you just have to ask, because someone may, people don't read your mind. So they don't know if you're struggling. They don't know if you need help with something. Just ask. There's a YouTube video that I saw one time with Bill Gates when he said he was about 13 years old, and he was building some computer in his garage, and he needed a part and he didn't know where to get it. And he looked in the phone book and he called up Mr. Hewlett, the owner of Hewlett Packard. He found his number in the phone book, and he just called him up and he said, hi, this is Bill. I'm 13. I'm looking for this part for the computer. And the guy said, okay, I'll send it to you. Give me your address. And Hewlett, the owner of Hewlett Packard, sent 13-year-old Bill Gates little port to be a computer. And you just think, like, if he had not asked, how that could have changed the world. I mean, we may have never.
Yeah. Yeah. You never know where you're holding the key to something like life changing for the entire world.
For the
And
entire, yeah, for the entire world. I mean, if he had never asked and he just said, oh, I won't build that computer, who knows? He might have become a dentist, or something, and it could have changed everything.
we still be on like DOS or whatever that.
Right. Yeah.
We probably won't be doing this Zoom.
Right. Yeah, nobody would be meeting, everybody be face to face. So you never know what kind of, and just sometimes just ask, be polite, accept no. If someone says no, make it easy for someone to say no. That's another good tip, because sometimes people want to help you, but they don't have time, or it's just they don't know, or it's just not the right.
Yeah.
Don't ever take that personally. If they say
Yeah.
no, okay, thank you. And it doesn't, but make it easy, out. You have to put it out there. I've found, especially in, entrepreneurs are so helpful. It's not that in corporate America people weren't helpful, but I think there's a lot of like limitations, or they don't know. But when I started my own business, and I, would go on like LinkedIn or Facebook and just join a group or ask a question, it was amazing how many people just wanted to help and share and were willing to do things, give their time, invited me to come to an event, or just, we're really happy to help.
Yeah. It's yeah. So honestly, you don't have to do it on your own. Ask for help.
And it's a lot more fun when you do stuff with other people.
It is so much more fun when you do stuff with other people. You learn so much more than trying to figure it out on yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah. So so you're passionate about working with nonprofits, which makes my heart just go happy. Supporting diversity, equality, and inclusive initiatives. How does the invention mindset apply to these areas, and what impact do you hope to achieve?
Yeah, I'm definitely, like I said, I'm passionate about helping, particularly, women and underrepresented minorities, people who have had to struggle, especially children, um, and people who really had to struggle. And I think one of the things that, the training and the reinvention mindset offers them is hope, is just knowing that the struggle is not permanent, doesn't have to be permanent, and that there's more out there. So like I offer some of my talks and my training to nonprofits at no charge, or just trying to, especially giving them to youth. I like to talk to, high school kids who are going out there, and just so, you don't have to wait. I want to share what I learned so you can have that information now. but just knowing that there's hope, that there's positivity, and that, wherever you are now, you don't have to stay there. There's ways to get out of that situation, and people are willing to help you with that. And that knowing that there is hope and that there is a future and a possibility where everyone is valued, where everyone is equal, and helping people. Because a lot of people, I think, when they are in a bad situation, they don't realize their own self-value. They feel like, it's their fault they're this
Yeah.
way, and they feel like they have all these limiting beliefs, and they feel like they're not valuable, they're not worthy. And helping people believe that they all have value, because I think everybody has value, no matter who you are, where you are, what you do. You are valuable, you're amazing, and you can change the world. You never know you have endless possibilities, and just helping people see that, I think, is really important and really empowering.
Yeah. And it's so important that you're doing this work too, because you come across so many people that you said they've never even been told that have value. They've been knocked down their entire lives and told that they're worthless. Nothing good's going to happen to them. They were born into poverty. They're born into bad situations. This is just who they are. And so they become that label, and they've never heard someone come and be like, no, you're worthy.
Yeah.
It's okay. You are a good person. Good things will happen to you. So that's so
Mhm.
important for people continue to hear that.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, just knowing it, just knowing that someone else thinks you're valuable is so helpful, because so many people have not heard that, and
Yeah.
hearing it is really important.
Yeah. Mental health and holistic wellness are critical aspects of your philosophy. How do you guide your clients to integrate these elements into their lives to achieve joy and fulfillment?
I think, meditation and mindfulness are definitely, I turn that off, sorry. Mindfulness and meditation. I recommend everyone do that at least once a day. And journaling is another thing that I think is really important, because once in the training that I do, you have your unconscious mind and your conscious mind. And when you actually do, things like meditation and mindfulness and a lot of the exercises, you're doing them in your unconscious mind. And until you actually write them down and journal about them, your conscious mind doesn't see it. So that kind of, by writing
Yeah.
something down and journaling about it after you've done the work
Yeah.
in your unconscious mind, helps the two connect, and it makes it more permanent. So I think, like I said, I think journaling. I also recommend, movement, whether it's walking, exercise, dancing, doing things that make you get up there and move is really good. And I love music. I think music, whether
Thank
it's
you.
dancing to it or just listening to it. I mean, I have a whole chapter. I have an inspirational playlist that I give out when I give out a free gift, and I have it in my book. And it's just songs that, get me excited. Because I think when music makes you happy, meditation really makes you happy. You need to really take, so many people say, well, you worry about if you take too much time on yourself, you're selfish or you're self-centered. Yet I think that you really have to focus on yourself. You need to take care of yourself, because until you love yourself, until you're in the right place, you can't do anything for anyone else.
Yeah.
And you're never going to get the full, you might be successful on paper, you might be doing a good
Yeah.
job, you might be getting a salary, yet it's not really fulfilling, and it's not really what you truly want to do. So once you take care of yourself, you can give so much more to other people. And it's not at all selfish if you put yourself first.
No, and we've been so conditioned. I can go on for days talking about this, but so conditioned that we come last, especially as women, that we
As
come last.
women, and
Everybody else is first. You put everybody else first, their needs first, and then somehow you're going to have enough in your cup to fill everybody up.
right,
But
yeah, women and
yeah,
mothers as well, they always put themselves,
yeah,
wives and mothers are always the last one, and women tend to
yeah.
put themselves, and we tend to hide ourselves. And we're, I can remember
Mhm.
being in school, and I was very curious. I used to ask questions, and I used to raise my hand and ask questions, and over time, both teachers and the other students were like, stop, you're asking too many questions. And I kind of like silenced that, and
Yeah,
I kind of hid myself. And I felt like, oh, well, I don't want to be the center of attention. I don't want to ask too many questions. I don't want to talk about myself too much. And now that I'm in this role where I'm trying to be a speaker, and I'm out there trying to share my message, I'm told, when someone says makes an opportunity. It's like, always raise your hand, step out there, be visible.
Yeah.
It really makes a difference. And I feel like, stuff I've been hiding for 40 years or so, or 50 years, it's like, okay, I can finally let that out,
Yeah.
because it is important to, be willing to be seen, be willing to be out there and share who you are and what you are, because everybody's valuable, and we don't need to hide, and we don't need to put ourselves last. We can put ourselves first. There's plenty for everyone. So you can give to
Yeah.
yourself and still have enough for everyone else.
Absolutely. And if your voice is not out there speaking, how are you going to help other people? Because you may have that one key to unlock something for someone that's going to triple affect the entire world. You never
Exactly.
know. And if we're hiding inside and not being hiding ourselves from the world and being what we think the world needs us to be, we're never going to make progress anywhere.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So with your certification in NLP, timeline therapy, root cause therapy, and other business coaching, how do these methodologies enhance your approach to helping individuals reinvent themselves?
Yeah, it was really interesting because when I wrote my book, I felt like I wrote the book completely on intuition, because I
Oh,
just
I
wrote
love it.
what I didn't do a lot of scientific research. I mean, I interviewed
Yeah.
people and I did a little bit, but I wrote what was in my head and what I felt like
Yeah.
made sense to me. And then as I got these certifications, I realized that my intuition was guiding me, because what I wrote was exactly what I was learning. And I think what the training and the certifications and the different therapies have given me a lot more tools to help
Mhm.
people. They've given me they taught me how the brain works. They've given me an understanding of how our subconscious mind, our unconscious mind works, and how our brain processes information. And then they've given me a lot more tools to help people release what's holding them back, and to help people overcome trauma, and to help people, face the negative emotions that they're dealing with and face anxiety. So it's been a lot of, confirmation that what I thought is actually makes sense. And then a lot of specific tools to help people get through that, and also to help make the changes permanent. Because a lot of times we learn something, we either learn something consciously, but our unconscious doesn't know about it. So eventually we forget, or we do something unconsciously, yet our conscious mind doesn't know about it. So it ends up not accepting it. And in the tools I've learned through my training is to integrate the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, so that, when you learn something consciously, you make your unconscious mind aware about it. When you learn something unconsciously, you make your
Yeah.
conscious mind. And that way the changes stay, they don't revert back. And I think
Yeah.
that's really important, because everybody, we all take training classes or something, and we're all excited about it, and it's going to change our life. And then we do it for a month or two and we completely go back to where we were. Whereas feel like the
Yeah.
coaching is something that you can actually make permanent, where you don't go back.
Yeah, it's kind of like I think Mel Robbins said that motivation's BS, and she said that because when we get on, you get all these pumped up, you get all these motivational speakers going, which I love it. I mean, part of one too, but motivational speakers going, and then you get, oh, I'm going to do all this stuff, but you're not breaking it down into what you're going to actually implement, and then you leave in like what I think it's like a week later, you're back to the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. So
Yes.
it's like you've wasted all thousands of dollars attending all these conferences and speaking engagements and stuff, but then you're not really implementing, you're not subconsciously putting that into that. So I'm glad that you mentioned, that you need to integrate both of those together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of wrapping up, for listeners who may be struggling to finding fulfillment or facing significant roadblocks, what practical steps or advice would you like to offer them to start their journey toward reinvention and joy? So basically, to wrap this up with, like, what's one or two things that they can walk away and just do immediately today?
Okay. One of the things that you can do immediately is think about your self-talk and the words you use. Like if I were to say to you, don't think of a purple elephant, you can't not think of a purple
Yeah.
elephant until you have a picture of a purple elephant in your head. And then your subconscious is just thinking of that purple elephant. So even though you're telling yourself not to, it's the same way with our language. The words we use, when we use words like but and can't and try and have to, our
Mm-hmm.
mind sees the lack, the scarcity, the failure. And the same thing, our unconscious mind doesn't recognize negative words. So if you say, I don't want to be dumb, for example,
Yeah.
all your unconscious mind is hearing is dumb. So instead of saying, I don't want to be dumb, say, I am smart. And then your subconscious mind sees smart, and you're smart. So the language we use to ourselves and the way we talk can have a complete change, just in our mindset, and then how we project onto the world. So, instead of saying, I have to, say, I get to, or I want to, and that totally changes the emotion around it, and it changes the way your brain perceives it. Instead of saying but, say end, because but is limiting, but end is possibilities. Instead of saying, I don't want to be, say I am, and that changes. So I think using that language completely is something you can do today, and it's going to change what you see immediately.
Yeah, I'm for one can contest to that. That does work. When you start switching those little flips, and it's, it still takes a little, it's a lifetime lesson for me, but
Yes.
when you'll start seeing immediate results when you start doing that. Yeah. So, well, thank you so much, Dr. Lori, for coming in today. All of her information will be in the show notes if you want to reach out. You do virtual coaching for clients.
I
So
do
yeah.
virtual coaching. Yeah, I do group coaching. I have an online class. I do one-to-one. I do like a full breakthrough session. That's a one-to-one, like a 12 hours over 3 or 4 sessions, but that takes you through a whole process to get a breakthrough in one area of your life, whatever is holding you back.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you again. This has been so insightful. So those little flips of new mindset, so important. So yeah.
Great. Yeah, it was fantastic talking with you. So thank you so much for having me.